So this is what I'm mainly going to be talking about, I think, or at least in the beginning. I'm not going to make this... I hope it doesn't end up super long, but it might be kind of long. We'll see. But I've been getting tons of questions about one subject, and it's not that it just happened right away. It's been something that's been going on for a while, where people seem to be asking me, how do I get an art job, or how do I get into the art field, or are there any jobs, or what jobs can I take? Or sometimes I'll get questions like, someone will ask me, well, I want to be a concept artist, or I want to be a comic book artist. How do I get in? What school do I go to? And it's really hard because those are different worlds. And it reminded me of something, which is that when I started out, I had no idea what I wanted to be or what things were, what opportunities there were either. So I've had this idea a while back, and I'm not sure if it's accurate or not. Ooh, someone's from Colombia. Welcome, Colombia. I'm from British Columbia. What? Anyway, yeah, so I had this idea of this triangle, and you'll probably be able to find flaws with it. I can find flaws in it, but I try to make graphs and things. I feel like if I can organize something, it makes more sense to me. But I didn't know what to call it. Originally I called it like a triangle, and then at the top, or not at the top, this isn't like top is in good and bottom is in bad. This is just 3 points. So 1 point leads to fine art, 1 point leads to animation type stuff, anime, comics, cartoons, and 1 leads to like graphic design, anything with design. And then in the middle is illustration. So illustration kind of encompasses all these things. You need to be able to paint realistically somewhat, you need to exaggerate a bit, and you need to have a good sense of design. But not all jobs require all of these. For instance, a storyboard artist, they need some design, so maybe storyboard artist would be in this lower designy area. Ooh, Canada, lots of Canadians, and Saudi Arabia, wow. New Orleans, France, Virginia, cool. Illinois, Brazil, Ontario, Ecuador, Russia. Wow, now lots of people are coming. I'm excited. No, see, I don't know. I get excited also. When it's when I'm just recording and it's not live, I don't really get too excited. But when I see people and then they're saying stuff, I feel really nervous all of a sudden, and then I get nervous and excited. Anyway, so yeah, so then you can go more to illustration and animation, and that's kind of its own world as well, or you could go more towards realism, but there's things in between. So matte painting, you require design skills, of course, but it's more towards you need to be able to paint realistically, caricature, and this isn't, you know, the street caricature, this is painting caricature. That's sort of in between fine art and I labeled it exaggeration, you know, pushing things, exaggerating certain things, more style, and of course these cross over in so many ways. You could have a fine artist that just does exaggeration, and it still could be considered fine art. So that's a problem when you start labeling things. But generally this is sort of, it seems to somewhat work, where you've got these categories, and you also have artists. So for instance, like Michael Turner, he would be in the comics area. Maybe I can start moving these guys. I move them to where they need to be. Michael Turner, he can be down here, you know, in comics, and the thing with comics is you need a sense of design. You need to be able, like, kind of like a storyboard artist. And sorry, I'm going to do a lecture type thing first, and then I will go into answering questions. So I really appreciate the questions, but Oh, someone's from Mars, and someone's from Mexico Cabaron, and someone's from Pilot Town, which sounds so fake, but I don't know, maybe there is a Pilot Town. Um, but anyway, yeah, so I'll get back to your questions, or just save your questions and then ask them later, or, hey Jeff, are you still there?
Yes.
Could you like open up a document and copy and paste questions in there?
All right.
All right. So moving along, let's keep placing these guys. So Akira Toriyama, he's gonna be more in like the anime thing. So he's gonna be more like here. Who else do we got? We got Craig Mullins. Craig Mullins is gonna be sort of closer to fine art, but closer maybe like around here, maybe. So Jason Seiler, he's going to be on this side. So he's kind of in between fine artist and kind of illustration. Let's put him there. Norman Rockwell. Norman Rockwell is awesome because I think he goes right in the middle. He's like got everything. He's got realism. He's got a amazing sense of design, and he exaggerates a lot. And this is something that is overlooked, I would say, with Norman Rockwell, is that it takes some time. When I first saw Norman Rockwell, I was young, of course, and he's famous. So I looked at his work and was like, bleh, I don't care. I wasn't impressed by the subject matter. But as I got older and a little bit smarter and more experienced and whatever, just amazing guy. His ability to storytell and my respect for him just grew. So Muka's sort of in between fine artist and design as well, but probably more to a design sense, really. And he exaggerates a bit, so maybe put him there. All this is unnecessary. I don't know why I'm doing this. I spent so much time making this thing, so I kind of want to make it work. Sergeant, he'll be up and very close to the fine art thing because he exaggerates a bit, and he's got let's put him there. And then Picasso, depends what period. Let's say the late Picasso, he'll be towards abstract, so let's put him here. Let's like cut him off because maybe he'd appreciate being outside of the box. Claude Monet, sort of in between exaggeration, more towards fine artist, maybe somewhere there. Scott Robertson, more towards design for sure. Not much exaggeration and quite a bit of realism. Alright, so yeah, so these are all jobs you could have, and they're different worlds. So if you are studying animation, that's here in this area, and it's not going to be the same as industrial design. So for industrial design, you would need to know perspective heavily. You need to be able to draw form. It's not just about drawing what you see, it's about understanding things. If you're a fine artist, you don't need perspective that much. Yes, it helps. Of course it helps. You'll do better work if you know perspective, but not to the same level. You don't need to understand, how to draw architectural things. And I also added stuff where this could lead to. Design could lead to, fashion design, graphic design, character design, although that goes more towards this middle section. Architecture is probably where it stops being thought of as art, and up top photography and abstract art down here. So yeah, so the thing is, in the beginning it's really tough because you just like art, and it's like, well, what does that mean? Well, I like to draw. Well, what do you like to draw? So let's say you like drawing environments and you want to make money eventually doing art. And this is another thing that gets to be a problem, is making money, because there's this part of art where people don't really want to talk about making money, and I didn't like mentioning it. It's almost this thing where you're not supposed to. It's a real artist just does art, but it's the thing is, in order to get good, you need to be doing something a lot. So a lot means, most of the hours of the day you're doing that thing. So how do you survive then? And if you want to not just be a hobbyist and have like a day job doing something else, and then, God, what am I trying to say? Yeah. And then doing your art on the side and just being a hobbyist level. If you don't want to be in that, then you're going to have to become a professional and make money. And then what if you have kids and now you have mouths to feed? So you got to support them. And then it leads, one thing leads to another. And then it becomes important that you find a job. So it's nice to be able to talk about money is not important in the beginning, but later on it definitely is. So again, going back to environments, you like to paint environments. Well, you could move into fine artists and then do still lifes. And then it's important to research that. So I'm just giving you broad ideas of what you can do, and then hopefully you will go and research that. But you could also go into matte painting. So matte painting is, backgrounds in movies. Maybe you'll watch, Lord of the Rings, and there's the characters and they're doing acting, and then in the background there's like an epic whatever. Most likely that's been painted, and it's painted by a matte painter. So you could do that as well. Let's say you wanted to get into matte painting. What skills do you need? Well, you need to be able to paint realistically. Most people in this side, the design side, you often need schooling. There's always this thing of, do I need to go to school? Does it help? Usually the answer is no. You don't need to go to school for most things. But when it comes to, if you were going to be an architect, it's very difficult not to go to school because there's so many little things you need to know. And the same is true for things like industrial design. You probably do need to go to school, or it will be much, much harder for you to compete, because this is very sciencey when you get into the design stuff. Graphic design isn't too bad. It's more about aesthetics. But industrial design, definitely, you need, even matte painting, you have to understand the science of materials. What do things look like under certain lighting conditions? But on the other side, like on caricature, no, you don't need school at all. I took schoolism. And for fine art, definitely it can help. There's ateliers out there which are great, but getting a degree, I would not recommend going the degree route. If you wanted to be a fine artist, look up ateliers, and I'll type it, atelier, because it's hard to spell if you don't know the word. But yeah, if you are a fine artist, see if there's one of those near you, because those are definitely gonna help you. Now if you want to get into cartoons, animation, it helps to, it could, school helps, but it helps in a different way. It's not so much that it helps you in terms of learning, but it helps with connections. And that's another super important thing, is getting connections, and that's why school helps. There's really 3 big things, but I've totally forgotten them. So now I'm just trying to pretend like I'm talking and being smart, but really I'm just desperately trying to search for things in my head about, what are those 3 things? So the 3 things you need are skills, connections, and what's the 3rd thing? Hey Jeff, what's the 3rd thing? Being a nice guy? Is that it?
What?
What's the 3rd thing? You need skills, you need connections, and you need something else.
Passion?
No, you don't need No, it helps.
Yeah, ambition or everything.
Ambition. No, but I'm talking about, when you're already good enough, like the person's, oh yeah, nice. Yeah, you have to be nice.
Yeah.
So that's the three things. Um, and you need two of three. So, for instance, if you are, oh, no. Here's the three things. Speed. Oh, okay. I'm mixing two different things up. But networking is really important. Having good skills is really important. And being, nice, which goes back into networking. And then promotion, that's the third thing. Okay, so you need to be able to promote. And that's kind of like networking is, anyway. And you need skills. But if you just have really good skills and no one knows about you, it's not going to work either. But anyway, so the other thing I was getting confused with is there are three things in most jobs you need to be having two of three to get hired. You need to be able to meet your deadlines, you need to be awesome, or you need to be really nice. So let's say you're awesome and you're really nice. Then you might be late on deadlines and people will let it slide. It'll be okay. Let's say you're really, really fast and you're really nice. Then it doesn't matter. Like you're really good at meeting your deadlines and you're really nice. Then maybe you're not the best. You're not the most skilled, and it's okay. And then the other thing is you're not that nice, but you're really skilled and you're really good at meeting your deadlines. Then it's like, this guy's a jerk, but he gets things done on time, and he's okay. We'll hire him. So those are the three things. So then, if you have all three of them, if you're nice, you meet your deadlines, and you're super skilled, then you'll find work. Well, anyway. Okay, so with comics, self-taught is probably most people are self-taught to get into comics. There's a Joe Kubert school, and that's probably very good. I've heard a lot of people come from there, but a lot of people mostly just come from studying other artists and polishing their skills. But then there's this other thing, which is, what about jobs? So, for instance, let's say you want to be an animator, right? You love animation, you love things moving, and you love anime, and you love drawing, and you want to draw a lot, and you look at TV shows, you look at Naruto, and you think like, hey, I want to work on Naruto someday. But let's say you live in North America. Well, you are probably not going to be working on Naruto. If you are Korean and you're in North America and you speak Korean, fine, maybe you can go to Korea and work there. But there are no jobs here for that. The animation or the storyboarding, everything's done in Japan, and then the animation is primarily done in Korea. So it's like, okay, you're not going to find that work. Animation, the industry here, for instance, in Vancouver, the industry is all Flash. It's Flash and Toon Boom for 3D or 2D, and then everything else is 3D. So when you come across the reality of that, it becomes somewhat disappointing if you walk into this thing blind. If you think, I'm going to be an animator and I'm going to get really good and I'm going to work on anime, and then you find out no one is hiring for that. That is not a job you can get. And then it's like, okay, now what? But the thing is, there are plenty of other jobs. Even if your style is anime, you still could go into DeviantArt. And, some people make their living simply on DeviantArt, where they do commissions for people. And that seems like it can work for people who are doing, like, they're Western, but they're doing an anime style, for instance. That can work. And then people can find you if you're very good and you've got a bit of an original style, and you can move into illustration. So that includes things like book covers, comic books, although again the style thing is not really anime in North America. But you could do posters, you could work for Japanese companies. That happens. And right now a big thing or a thing that's really big is trading card games, and a lot of people I know are doing trading card games, and that's what I'm doing as well right now. I do illustrations for trading card games, and so that requires a lot of the stuff that you need in fine art, in terms of being able to paint. You need to have a sense of design, and then exaggeration. It depends what company you're working for. So I worked for a Japanese company, and they wanted anime stuff. They told me, like, no, we need your style to be more anime. So then it's like, okay, I'll do that. But then, and that's a great thing about being online, is that you can work anywhere in the world, and it's fine, as a freelancer anyway. But there's tons of competition. You have to be very good. So I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna go to questions now, because I'm having a hard time understanding what I need to talk about. All right. Were you able? Hey Jeff, were you able to get the questions?
Yes, I do. There weren't much, but yeah. Media Flow Studio asks, do you have an example of the middle point?
For illustration would be Norman Rockwell. Yeah. Let me find that. Sorry, I'm just looking through my art folders to find an example of the middle point. Ah, this is sad. Let's see, this is an example of a midpoint. It's sort of exaggerated, sort of fine art. It's not finished, I think. Or it's just a sketch. I could probably find a better image, but I will try to do that right now. In the meantime, is there another question?
Yes, there is. Armandicus, what was your eureka moment in your art journey?
Oh boy, there's so many. They come on and off. It's I don't know. I share them with you when I find them, though. I'll usually make a YouTube video about it. Copy image. I'll paste it in here. And put that up there. There we go. So there's an example of an in-between one. It is, you can see it's exaggerated. These boys, and let me make it bigger just for the sake of readability. These boys are clearly exaggerated, right? Kids aren't this tall. You can see the mouth. You can see how it's all pushed. Yet it's realistic. The painting is realistically rendered. And at the same time, it's very designed. You can see even the way the arms point. There's a strong sense of design in this. And it tells a story. So that's a midpoint. Okay, so what's next?
Let's see. How do you make money off of art personally? And that's by JDubsRW. And Alex Jackson asks something similar. What do you do to make money?
So yeah, what I'm doing is, freelance art. So, sometimes people contact me. Usually people contact me by email and say, we have a project we're working on. We think you'd be a good fit. And right now it's all in illustration. I'm branching out to other areas, but most of it's illustration. Sometimes I'll do a caricature, but that's usually not a company that's asking me. That is just, a guy who's seen my caricature videos usually and then wants to commission something like that. And I used to teach privately, but time became an issue, and I tried to charge not too much. Like I would charge $30 an hour, to 25 to 30, because students don't have that much, but then it's hard to live off that. So anyway, okay, what's the next
question?
Yeah.
Navy Blue Manga. Hey, I'm going into school for animation at Sheridan College, best animation program, but I want to do comics and manga. What do you think?
Well, yeah, so focus on... See, the great thing of animation is it's going to get you gesture. It's going to get you movement and life in your drawings. And this is something I've always admired about animators. It's going to help you simplify. So that's perfect for that. And then you say you want to get into manga. What manga? Do you have an idea? And what's your market? Eventually, and this sucks, but you have to think or change your thinking to be more like a business person. Most artists have difficulty with this. I have a lot of problems with this, thinking like a business person. For instance, there are times where I don't make that much money, and then it's like, people will tell me, well, you should make DVDs or something, and don't just give it out for free. But then I get conflicted, like, no, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable doing that. It conflicts with my idea that, no, education should be free. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. Anyway, next question.
Dark Art 888. I want to mainly be an illustrator and a comic book artist, but I thought it would be more intelligent if I did a wide variety of things, so I don't have a job. Am I correct?
No, don't do a wide variety of things. I did a wide variety of things, and it is... Okay, here's the thing. When I say don't do it, it doesn't mean don't as in, no, don't do it, whatever. It means that this industry seems to, from what I've seen, reward specialists far more than people who are too broad. Now, if you're in illustration, you have to be a little bit of a jack of all trades, just because you're dealing with so many things. It's like juggling, right? You're juggling many balls, and you need to be able to handle all of those. So one of them might be values and perspective and composition, and so many things you have to deal with. But if, for instance, you're doing fine art, it's going to be not a smart idea to keep jumping around from fine art to, let's say, storyboarding. Because why? Because you need to get super good at something. And here's the thing. Here's the big thing I want to let people know. You have to be really, 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 really good. And most people, if they're working all day, 6 or 7 days a week, need to work their asses off just to get to that level in one field. So it's very difficult to be able to be so good that you are able to get work and do that in many different fields. That's pretty much all there is to it. And then some, like fine art, it is hard to get into. It's not impossible, but with fine art, you have to deal with gallery owners. There's so much politics that goes on in fine art. So if you're good with networking, you got to have good people skills as well, because you have to network. You have to talk to people. Not so with some illustration gigs, especially freelance, where you don't have to meet anyone. Sometimes you could just, you could be a bit of a recluse. But if you're good enough, it's fine. I better start spending less time on these questions, because there's so many questions. So let's go to the next one.
Okay. Where was I? Okay. Gaz Talaz. I work with advertising and I want to quit. I'm training my skills with illustration and I want to work with art. How should I start looking for work? What's the first step to start looking for work?
I would post on forums and get my work out there. And DeviantArt, it's really good to be on DeviantArt. Now the thing is, when you're good enough, you'll find people will start emailing you. There are people, like the art directors who work in illustration, tend to browse things. They'll see who's popular. So often it's not a case of... Sometimes it's a case of looking for work. I know there's a friend of mine who got his jobs from Craigslist and would just look, who's hiring, and then submit his portfolio, and that's one way. Another way is to just build up your skills to the level that other professionals are noticing you. You're part of the community. Another thing that's really important is to join the community, because so many jobs you get come from your friends. And this is why schools are really good in a way, because they give you the advantage of knowing people. So let's say someone's looking for work, they're most likely going to ask an artist already working for them, hey, we need work, do you know anybody? And then that artist is most likely going to talk to their friends and say, hey, they're looking for work. And it's much harder to be in the pile of 1,000 portfolios and then get work that way. Okay, next one.
All right. Stag Assassin, what anatomy books would you recommend? Also, how should I approach the book and actually learning by copying all the drawing?
It depends what book. Are you talking about anatomy books? I guess maybe Stag Assassin. If you, what are you copying? That's really an important piece of information. Then I'll be able to give you some more advice.
Okay.
By the way, thanks for doing this, Jeff.
No problem. Final Chronicle. I'm in digital animation. Is it possible to bridge into concept art?
Digital animation. It's possible. I mean, everything is possible. It's just that it's going to take a while because it's a different thing, right? So have it in your mind that you're going to need about a good year, maybe 2 years at least, of working purely in concept art. And join the forum, go to conceptart.org, go to CG Hub. There's so many online things where people can give you advice. There's streams that are really popular. Let me just pull up something. Alright, I'm gonna paste a link in the chat, and so you're gonna have to. It's not gonna let me paste the link directly, so I'm gonna do that thing where you put bracket dot instead of, so that YouTube will not stop me from doing this. But anyway, so there's a link to this thing. It was started by this guy Wolkenfels, and it shows who is streaming, and it's a great resource because so many people stream. They do live streams, and you can often, not always, it depends on the person, but you can often ask questions. So this guy's my friend, Isra, and so he's doing, I think he's doing concept art right now. So you could, so here. So many, look at all these people who stream. It's got so many people streaming. And so let's say you like artwork by ArtGerm. So you could go into ArtGerm's stream and ask him, what did you do? How do you get into the industry? Or, even just watching what he's doing and maybe trying to adopt some of that as well. But yeah, so many. So, it's great watching streams. Okay.
Next.
Mm-hmm.
Curpid, are there any sites you'd recommend for finding jobs?
Yep. DeviantArt apparently has a jobs area. Concept Art definitely does. Conceptart.org definitely has a jobs area. But and then again, there's Craigslist, and it depends what field you're in, though, right? If you're a fine artist, I'm not in that world anymore. I was at a time, but not right now, so I don't know. I don't know where you go for that. Maybe Wet Canvas. Yeah.
Okay. Chris Chung. What suggestions do you have on drawing? Proportions in different point of views?
Ooh, okay. Let me do this real quick. I made, and I'll probably make a tutorial that's more in depth on this later. But just in case it takes me a while to get to that. Remember how... Oh god. This is not going to behave, is it? Remember how I did my... What?
Nothing.
Okay. Remember how I broke... Oh no! Remember how I broke my person into 8 heads? Like that? You know? I made a video on this. I hope... If you're watching this, you probably saw that, and if not... proportions of the adult male or adult female. Anyway. So, to add that into perspective, right now you've got them in a box, right? So, you know the midpoint, halfway. So what you can do with perspective is replicate that box. So let's say I'm looking up at the person. Can replicate that box. And to find... let's make it a bit different. To find the midpoint... And what does this mean? It means the horizon's down here somewhere. You make an X. So you join one corner, and this is really rough, so pardon my drawing abilities. But you go from one corner, like the top left to the bottom right, and then connect it, and you'll get an X. And then if you go straight through, and you do that again, get your X. Then there, now I have this box in 3 dimensions, right? So then I also know the hips are going to be halfway, right? So the hips are going to be here, the feet are going to be here, the head is going to be... Again, I can split this with X's again. So the head's going to occupy this area. And then you can get the body in. And so that this is one way to do it this way. And then the other way is kind of the practical way, which is you draw something and, oh, does this look right? And if not, you erase it and redraw it. So let's say that's my first drawing, and then it kind of looks weird. I'll try another one. Maybe I'll try it more like that. How does that look? Try another one, try a different pose. And then you draw, and then, you know, you experiment, and you do many, many things, and it's really a case of what is working and what's not working. Trial and error. So this is a huge secret. It's about trial and error, and you need to make lots and lots of errors, and to do that you need to have lots and lots of trials. So this is what they mean when they say, you know, you need to be doing 10,000 drawings, because technically I could just do 10,000 drawings with my eyes closed and then, okay, do another one, do another one. It's not going to help me. What's going to help is to look at it and say, okay, what's working, what's not working. And sometimes you'll do something and you have a happy accident, and then you realize, like, oh wait, that looks good, let me do that thing next time. Yay, that's good. I don't know what I'm pointing to. Her knee? His knee? You didn't need to do that, but anyway. Alright, so next question.
Okay. By Vincent. I know it's not talked about a lot, but could we have an idea range of the pay for commissions? Is it more like 400 to 500 for an image or more?
Depends. So when you're starting out, I've seen, and DeviantArt is somewhat bad for this because it's the graveyard. It's so hard because you'll get young people charging stupid amounts. And by stupid, I don't mean it's stupid. It's good for them. It's just bad because that becomes expected, and then people who have, you know, a family of 4 to feed cannot make their bill payments off that. So, for instance, I've seen from $5 for a sketch to $25, and I think that's roughly what you would get, especially if you're just an amateur level. Usually it seems, going over $100 is not a good idea when you're not good yet. And I could be wrong, but or also for a sketch, for any kind of pencil work, you might not want to go to that level. Now, for jobs, this might be painful, but sometimes work that can take you anywhere from 1 day to 1 week in the beginning could be about $100. So if it's $100 a day, fine, that's not bad. But if it takes you a week to do, that's $100 a week. So that's only $400 for a month. I think something that I've not heard talked about before is that it is very, very, very difficult to become a fine artist, or not a fine artist, to become an artist, a professional artist, if you don't have the luxury of time. It means you'll have to take a job you don't want to take. You'll be out of the art field just to survive in the first few years, because that's when you will not, most likely, unless you're an amazing artist and you're super talented, you will not be able to immediately get jobs that pay enough to support yourself. So, I mean, there are a lot of artists who live at home with their parents, and it's nothing to be ashamed about, because you need to get good, right? So, anyway, so once you have like full colored illustrations, they can start going over the $100 range. Now, for the beginning jobs, they go from $100 to $300 for people who aren't very good, and I'm probably in the aren't very good category. I'm getting out of it though, so I'm not at the 100 level anymore. But and then decent jobs are usually for one piece. Maybe $400 to $700 is more intermediate, and this is for the work I do, so illustration for like card games and things. I don't even know if I should be saying that. But anyway, and then it can go up beyond that. So really good guys can get, maybe 2,000 or more for a piece. It's not uncommon to be extremely good and still, making 1,500 for a piece. And then the difference is that when you get very good, you get fast. So it might take me a week to do a $500 job. So then that's $500 a week. But it might take an experienced person a day, and then that's not too bad, $500 a day. And it depends also what part of the world you're in. So if you're in Romania and the rent is $80 a month because you're in Romania, then hey, one job pays your entire rent. But if you're in Vancouver and the rent is here downtown is at least 1,000. It's hard to find anything below that, and you can, but it's hard. And so, okay, you at least need to make 3,000 to survive. So it really depends. Depends where you are, how fast you are, how good you are. But you have to be very good, and to understand, well, what does that mean, very good? What it means is find artists that are professional who you like the work of. That's your level. That's what you need to be able to do. Don't think of it as, well, but I'm a student. Of course I'm not going to be at that level, because that's pretty much the level. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to look at superstar artists. There's a difference. There's a difference between the superstar artists like Jamie Jones or Craig Mullins or Art Germ, for instance. He qualifies as a superstar artist. And a professional artist. A professional is someone who, maybe you could look through like magic cards, and they're not like the best cards, but they're in there. That's the level you need to be. You need to be at least as good as the least good professional. So if you're seeing work and it's published, it's out there, and you can do better than that, fine. You're ready to start thinking about jobs. If you cannot, then it is too soon. I think you might get lucky. You might find something, but it is too soon, in my opinion. In illustration.
Uh, Taguian Bassment. I'm 20 years old and I'm not that much of a skilled artist. I made a drawing of you on your forums, but I don't think you remember me. My question is, do you think that at 20 of life, I'm still in time of becoming a concept artist?
Yeah, it's fine. You're only 20. Doesn't matter. It's not about. See, here's the thing. If you were 50 and you told me I'm 50 years old and I've always wanted to be a concept artist, then I would say, yeah, it's gonna take like a few years of dedicated hard work. It's just that. It's the work that is hard. It is not the. It's not, well, I'm 20, so I'm not going to be good. It's that doesn't matter. If you're 20, you still need about 2 years. Do you have like 2 years to work your ass off, 12 to 16 hours a day, maybe 8 hours a day, maybe six if you're really good, really talented, but do you have the time to invest? Do you have the patience? Do you have the ambition? Right? It's more about that. It's much more about that, not that what age you are. Because it takes, most people take about the same. Even, see, the thing is, when you see like a 17-year-old hotshot, maybe they started when they're 14, so that means he took 3 years and he worked hard. 3 years of hard work. You talk to a 21-year-old who finished school and maybe they did some accounting job and now they want to get into art, and it takes them, well, it took me until I was 24. Again, 3 years. Right? So it's that is difficult. And 3 years of hard work. This isn't 3 years of I'm in high school and I draw sometimes, twice a week and my friends say I'm good. This isn't that. This is I draw all the times. I'm posting every day on art forums. I'm keeping up with other artists. I have my DeviantArt gallery and I'm constantly producing work. Stuff like that. Sorry, I saw Mega Man. Clients don't pay you however you ask them to. Most of them, it depends. There's like the split. A lot of them in the beginning will pay PayPal. That's the most common way. Later on, it's often bank transfers or PayPal. PayPal's a big one, but they're not off. Not all of them are negotiable. Some say no, this is how we do it, and that's it. But PayPal is, in the beginning, it's good. So make sure you have PayPal.
Okay. Kupo Tenshi, how did you get started freelancing? What was your first freelance job?
My first freelance job was, well, it's not that I got started freelancing in a broad sense. It's that I would get people saying, I saw your work on wherever, and I have this idea. And then in the beginning, it's just like, normal people. And then later on, it'll be a company. And then later on, you'll get, if you're friends with people and they'll say, oh, this guy's hiring, did you know? Maybe I could send them your portfolio and things like that. So it evolves, it changes over time.
Okay. OctoGoTo, how do you get past self-expectations? And by that I mean, how do you look past self-criticism regarding your own art?
As long as it's not paralyzing. Because the thing is, again, you need to draw a lot. This is because it's the trial and error thing, right? Make lots of trials to have lots of errors so that you can learn from your mistakes. And this is why the worst thing you could be is like flawless. Because if you're flawless, you have no mistakes. So then how are you going to learn? It means you're going to stagnate. You're going to become garbage. I had a video about artist's block, and it talked about like hand skill and eye skill, right? If your eye skill is too high above your vision and you can see all the flaws and your hand skill is way low, it's discouraging. But it's actually, you just keep going. So how are you going to keep going? This is probably like the biggest thing I want to talk about then, I guess. And I've said that a few times now. I understand that. But anyway. Okay, so how are you going to draw a lot? And people say, the successful people are all passionate. Passion is one way. Passion is one way you will draw a lot. because it's fun, because you like it, because this is your life. What's another motivation? Maybe you're desperate. That could be another motivation. I've heard of someone whose motivation is fear. They're afraid of not making it, so they work hard. Whatever makes you work hard, and this is why taking breaks is also important. Because if you take breaks, it means, you can. It doesn't mean you slack off and you're a slacker. It means, you don't push yourself to the breaking point all the time, because then you will screw yourself over. But you have to find what's helping you to work more. And is the self-criticism that you're telling yourself, is that helping you to work more? Or is that putting you in a position where you are too afraid to even pick up your pencil and draw because you're so afraid of failure? This is what happens. People get so like, I need to draw, I need to do a drawing today. Okay, what are you doing? I'm telling myself that I need to draw. Yeah, but you're not drawing. Draw. No, but I'm afraid. Okay, but you need to draw. You don't need to be afraid. That's not the thing. No, but what if it turns out bad? It's not good enough, son. I'm ashamed of you. I'm gonna put you up for adoption. You're bad at art. You can't listen to those voices. You got. I can't imagine a parent saying that. Terrible. But anyway.
Moving on.
Okay.
Liuski, what's a typical workday like for you?
Depends. Most of the time, wake up, check emails, see if you have whatever. Check the schedule. Here's the thing that's super important. Make a schedule. It's vitally important. Scheduling. Even if you're a student and you go to school and you have, make time, 1 hour a day or something, that I'm going to do anatomy studies or whatever, because it makes things easier when you've got it structured. Because otherwise you might assume that, hey, I'm going to draw today, but then if it's this thing of maybe I will, maybe I won't, it's not very good. But if you make it a schedule and you stick to it, meaning, maybe you say, all right, from 8 to 10, I'm going to spend this time on art. And then your friend calls you up and they're like, hey, do you want to meet? You want to go watch a movie? And it's at 9 o'clock and you're like, yeah, well, you're not sticking to your schedule. Stick to your schedule. Make it so it's non-negotiable. That, no, I'm sorry, I'd love to, but I have to do stuff right now. And then also schedule in free time or breaks or rewards, Maybe you like playing games, fine. I don't play games because I don't have time, but I like to play games and I wish I could more. But the way I would do it is I would say, on Saturday you're allowed to play games, or you're allowed to play games for 2 hours at this time, but you have to do this work first. Never make it the other way around. Don't make it like the fun thing and then I'm going to work. Make it the work thing, and if I don't do this work thing, I can't have the fun thing.
Okay. Jamie V, what are some good art colleges? I'm looking into an animation or comics.
Which one? Animation and comics are kind of different. Because the thing with animation is it's about so many things aside from drawing. It's about timing. It's about, knowing where your keys are, your lip syncs. It's about weight, and it's about many things that aren't comics. But anyway, good schools, Gobelin in France, Gobelins, if you can get in. Sheridan, there's one in Florida, what's it called? Ringling. And then there's Cal Arts. Am I missing any? Do you remember any?
No. Goblins and Sheridan are the ones that me and you talked about mostly, I think. But Goblins is it's hardcore, isn't it? It's like you have to be almost professional level to get in.
Yeah, it's like you have to be professional level and on top. And you can search. I'll just type it in the comments. You can look at their the stuff they do now, I don't know. It's not that impressive, but anyway, most of the stuff that I've seen before from animation's crazy good, and it's like, what the hell? The teachers at the art school I went to would not be able to probably get into Golan, and on top of that, they put an age restriction, and it's in France, so you got to learn French.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's super hard to get in.
What was it? If you're past 27,
Yes,
you're not allowed to go in.
some stupid rule.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But yeah. Anyways. Let's see. Lego Good 121. Sycra, I've heard some places instantly ignore your portfolio if you submit anime or cartoons or manga. This is coming from a guy who knows people in the field.
okay, then I don't know. Good. I don't know. Like, you know people, so you don't. There's no question there.
Okay. Navy Blue Manga. What do you think about digital art versus traditional art and the learning curve that comes when you switch over?
It's not that hard because everything's transferable. It is hard right away, but if you know your foundations, it's not that hard. The hard thing is if you're using Photoshop and everything is a trick, everything is a gimmick. I'm going to use color dodge. I'm going to use a texture brush. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use that. All the fancy tools, that can make it hard. But if you know your values, you know your colors, you've done studies, you've done value studies, you've done drawing, you know how to measure angles, you know how to get proportions, it's not that big of a deal. It's still going to be hard. And it depends which traditional medium. Acrylic is not that bad. You need to know a few things. You need to know, for instance, watercolors. When you paint with watercolors, they dry lighter. When you paint with acrylics, they dry darker. When you paint with oils, it dries the same. But oils take a long time to dry, and it's this whole big thing. So oils is probably the hardest in terms of learning curve. But it's also pretty forgiving because you can paint and scrape away and repaint, so it's not that bad.
Okay. Stress cavity. This is a pretty old one. What if I don't have any art friends? And regarding your live stream post, I already frequent there. I just haven't really made a lot of friends beyond leaving a comment or two at livestreamstatuslist.appspot.com.
Right. Okay, so here's what you got to do then. Go to a forum like Concept Art, and this is the thing. Let's say you post every day. Good on you if you do. Every 2 days maybe is more reasonable or more realistic, but every day if you can. What you want to do is every time someone replies to your post, reply to their sketchbook. The other thing you want to do is before you do any post, reply to 3 other people. Give and then you'll get. So once you do that, give it like a week, someone's going to comment on it. And what happens is usually you find that since you reply every time someone replies to you, you'll end up finding someone roughly around your level, and you end up replying to each other a lot because, they reply to you, you reply to them. They post something, you post something. And then you got like a buddy, right? Hey, we can work together. And that's how you establish those friendships. Yeah.
Okay. Gaz Talaz. How long did it take for you to stabilize financially? I mean, how long did it take for you to your art pay you nicely?
I don't get paid nicely. I'm still trying to be stable. It just depends, right? It's like, well, now I can afford this. I can afford basic rent maybe, but that's about it. And then later it's like, oh, now I can afford rent and I can get a new monitor or something. It's just scale. And then later on, but I'm not comfortable right now because I'm not good enough to be comfortable. And maybe that lets you know the idea of how good do I need to be? You need to be as good as me at least to just get in, usually.
Okay. Let's see. Gan blind. If I'm starting, which lessons do you recommend me from Pencil Kings?
Depends. If you're starting for Photoshop, take the Photoshop one. I'm really proud of that one. So, yeah, if you're doing digital, learn that one. If you're doing traditional, any of the foundation ones, like there's proportions, how to draw an eye and all that. That's all. Should be good.
Okay. Sci-fi SOS. I'm going to have to launch this later. I'm a bit lost and I don't want to. Will this be up with any links to whatever you have referenced in this video before?
I don't know.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I don't know.
Alright, next. Dark Art 88. I'm still a teenager. If I start now doing this as a job, will I have an easier time when I'm on my own and have to live off of art?
Yeah, of course. The earlier you start, I mean, that's just an advantage. It means I get to. It's still going to take about the same amount of time as at whatever age, you know. Maybe you're like 60 and you're retired. The only thing that's harder about that is that your brain. It's harder to learn new things because you've kind of edited your brain in a way. But maybe it's going to take longer. Maybe it's going to take twice as much or 3 times as much time. But you still can do it.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Wind hacker. How do you deal with parents who won't let you be an artist? Parents who are hardwired to tell you that art as a job does not exist.
I would say ignore them and don't even bother, because the thing is, they're trying to help you, they're trying to look out for you, but the only thing that's going to convince them is when you get a paycheck. I mean, showing them, you know how you said I can't make any money off art? Here you go. And then, oh, what's that? Okay. Well, and then maybe they'll think it's just this lucky thing. Then you show them the next paycheck. There are jobs out there. You just have to be really, really, really good, and there's lots of competition. So I'm not trying to make it sound... See, here's the other thing. On one hand, I hate when people say, I'm too old, or I can't do this, or there's no opportunities. No. That's not the hard thing. The hard thing is doing it. Being disciplined, you know. Can I make schedules and stick to schedules and work even though I don't want to work? Can you do that? That's what's rare. Can I... Especially if you're more intelligent, often this is something that's hard for you. It's that because you will quit sooner than someone who might not be as intelligent. Because you'll assume, well, I've worked in this for 2 years and I didn't get any opportunities and I'm just no good and there's no jobs here, and you'll quit. And the other guy will work for 2 years and 1 week, and maybe in that last week they get the opportunity you never got. So not giving up is important. Being good enough is important, and the only way you're going to do that is by working hard. So it's forget talent. The talent that you need to worry about is the talent to work hard and not give up and not let other people's opinions change your mind, right? So someone might tell you, oh, I heard there's no jobs in art. Yeah, I know a friend who went to art school and now they're studying biology because there were no jobs in art. And it's like, well, what art school? What do you know? Stay in the forums. Stay around professionals. Stay around people who are working in the field you want to work in. Even if you don't talk to them, look what they're talking about. You'll get a sense. There's this pattern that emerges where it's like, oh, okay, there's the reality that the general population has about art. And it has these things that are scary and cool, and it's usually far from the reality. The reality is that it's completely different. You need to find out what that reality is, and the only way you're going to find it out for sure is to be around people in that field.
Okay. Stag Assassin. I'm trying to understand anatomy to apply it to my drawings. My drawings are a mix of realistic and cartoonist style, but anatomy books seem overwhelming. How do I use it to better my drawings?
Okay, here's what you do. You find photo reference. A good one is UFC. Like, search on Google for UFC. Because what it has is like UFC fighters, right? Go into the images section. You can just do it right now. That's the wrong thing. UFC, especially like let's see, welterweight. Okay, so let's say I click this, right? Boom. There's all these guys. And then here, see? You have beautiful motion. You've got anatomy, but it's not just standing still, right? So what you want to do is you look at these and you'll do a drawing of this. And while you're doing this, then you look at your anatomy book and you say, oh, what's this muscle? You know, oh, deltoid. Like learn it on two fronts. Don't just copy the anatomy book. Compare it to reality. Another good thing is look at yourself, right? If you have enough muscle that it shows, or even bone, you can look at yourself and see how does my arm move, you know? What's going on? You can feel your bone. For instance, there's a bone that connects from, it's on the side of your pinky, right? It's the ulna, and it goes towards your elbow, and you can feel that bone. And as you turn your palm, so let's say your palm's facing down, you'll feel it doesn't move if you turn your palm so it's facing up and then it's facing down. It doesn't move. That bone's not moving. But it does move, it doesn't move near the elbow, but it moves near the wrist just a bit. So it's like, okay, you can go back and forth and sort of feel that bone. Okay, so that's that one. Look in your anatomy book. Ulna. Oh, okay. So you're sticking them together, right? So you want to do that with as much as you can. You want to, I don't know, cross-pollinate, if you will. Get your knowledge from the anatomy book, but don't just let it be that flat drawing on the page with the, you know, brachioradialis. Okay, you know, okay, brachioradialis. Let me, and break it up so it's like a day. So let's say one day you're doing shoulder. So I'm only focusing on, you know, deltoid, what is it, posterior, anterior, and anyway, the middle one, the back one, and the front one. You're only looking at your deltoid, and then just focus on today's deltoid day. I'm going to understand the shoulder. I'm going to understand where this muscle connects. Something really good is if you have your anatomy book, right? And I go to Google and let's say I type in latissimus dorsi, right, in Google. And I go to images. Because medical students need to learn this stuff, you'll get excellent images that show you where it attaches to the bone. This is really important to learn. See? And you get different views. So if you're just using one anatomy book, if you're using one reference, you're very limited. See, here's this like crude, but whatever, it's a picture, and it shows, okay, so that's approximately where it is. And as you start clicking through this, your brain starts to understand, oh, this shape, okay. And then you'll look at the other things, like you'll look at this guy and it's like, okay, here's the latissimus dorsi right here, right? And you can compare it. So it's a great thing. You guys have so much easy stuff, not easy, but so much stuff at your disposal, you know? Use it.
Alrighty then. The Kino hat. Which program can I use to create an anime?
I don't know. Manga Studio? An anime is in like an anime or a manga? If it's a manga, Manga Studio I think is good. If it's an anime, I have no idea. Toon Boom? Next.
Okay. Proto 715. How do you get past the paralyzing effect if it's frozen you from pursuing drawing for many months? What some could call years.
Well, see, here's the thing. I know what you're talking about because I felt it. But what is stopping you physically? Nothing. Nothing's physically. You can make crappy lines on a page, right? That doesn't take any work. You just do it. Just do it. You know. Like, don't think about it. It's like the Nike slogan, just do it. That's really it. Don't judge it on results. The thing that's stopping you is you're thinking, for instance, I want to do a cool anime face with this guy with a big sword and whatever, and then you're afraid, and then you try and draw that and it doesn't work. Forget about that. Forget about the expectation. Just do it. It's not about results. You're not showing anybody. Even if you post on forums, it's good, but don't have any attachment of your ego to this thing. So, this is me. This represents me. Don't judge me. Oh, God. It's not about that. Sorry, I got caught up in the acting.
Got caught up in the passion in the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Joni Dance, what is your process for creating a character?
Hmm. Well, it depends what the character is, and then usually I find reference. For instance, what does a character need to be? If they're a medieval character, then I'm gonna have to find medieval references. Usually, I try and think of the time period, and then what's similar to that, and then I'll try and get ideas. Or I'll just start sketching. If I have a general idea, I'll just sketch it, and then I'll put that down. Let me do something real quick to show you. And I'm sorry, I'm definitely not going to be able to get to every question today. I know it's getting late for a lot of people, and for me, I'm going to hang out, maybe another 50 minutes at most. But anyway, so let's say I have a character, and I have like this general idea of like this costume, and yeah, I'm drawing it really rough, so this is definitely not the quality I would do it. And let's say I do this, where it's like, okay, I want like a striped costume. Okay, so that's the first one, and then maybe the second one, I base it, like that's my first idea. Fine. So the second one, I can change it a bit. It's like, okay, what if it's like split down the middle, and we've got that same stripe pattern, and it's like, okay, now I have two versions, and maybe they're wearing like a belt or something, and it's building, and try different things. So you give this guy this clothing, and the next guy maybe you just, if it's digital, it's really easy, copy and paste. Maybe this guy has a hood, and then it just builds where you can, maybe I like the hood, so then, but I like this outfit more, so then, okay, now this person has this kind of hood, and, maybe they're wearing gloves, and they have, like, boots or something, and, okay, like, build it that way. Okay, next.
Okay. Did I already ask what is your process for creating a character?
Yes.
Okay. Damn, my old age. Davey Oshiro. I like to draw, but it seems like I can't improve anymore.
You like to draw, but it seems like you can't improve anymore. You can always improve. That's ridiculous. Never think you can improve. If you can improve, the thing is you're not doing the right exercises. You're not pushing yourself. Look at other people, see what they're doing. Try and copy them, or go to a forum and get some critiques. People are going to tell you what's wrong. Trust me, people love to tell you what's wrong. They'll tell you, oh, your values suck. You suck. But it's like, okay, so then cut out the you suck part and just replace it with could use a little work. So, your values could use a little work. Okay. Maybe I'll do like a grayscale image and try and copy it and see if I can copy it exactly, and I'll use a color picker to check my values. Next.
Okay. Joni Dance again. What is your main source of inspiration?
Right now, Kim Jong-gi.
The king.
Okay, next.
Okay. Okay, Jason Steffler. Question: how does Sycra decide when a piece is finished? I tend to overwork my pieces, and I struggle to know the difference between polishing and noodling. What say you?
Look at a thing for a standard. Like, find an artist, and this is something I've started to do recently. Find an artist that's roughly what you want to be, and have them open. So let's say I was doing a drawing, and I'm doing like a picture of George Bush, and I have this here, and it doesn't have to be George Bush, whatever it is, maybe it's a different caricature. But I look back and forth and like, okay, what does this have that I don't? It has color, so then I'd color it, and then what else? Well, as you do that and you have something to compare to, you're going to realize that, oh, I am not going detailed enough. And then it's going to be hard because sometimes you don't know how to do that. So yeah, sometimes you run into problems, but it helps at times. Maybe it's a case of maybe I can find a higher resolution image. I can zoom in and see what they're doing. And it's going to take time anyway. So it doesn't mean you're competing. You're not competing. You're not saying, I'm going to do this as good as this person. You're going to say, I'm going to try to get my level as close to their level, or this level is professional and I want to get to the standard. And even if you miss it, you're going to still do better off than if you had no standard to compare to.
Okay. Okay. Kupotenshi. Okay, to go with the last freelance question, how many years were you posting online before people started emailing you about working for them?
I was posting online when I was like 15, I think, maybe 14. So I'm 29. So I'm not good at math, but I think that's 14 years. I don't know, not 14, maybe 11 years. Okay, I suck.
No, I don't think you need to worry about it. Okay. Skihas1, how do you find like-minded people in person to draw for fun?
I don't know. The guy I'm talking to right now, Jeff, my friend Jeff, I met him in animation school, so that's one advantage of school. It puts you there. Something else you could try and do is start a drawing sketch group. Another good thing you can do is find out if your area has life drawing, because most likely whoever's going to life drawing is interested in drawing, right? So that's a great way to meet people too. I've met a few people just through life drawing.
Okay. Noob C133. Question. I'm having trouble drawing in Photoshop/digital. How do I overcome drawing on a Wacom pad where I can't see what my stylus draws?
Practice. Takes a while.
Alright. Boshi Rex. What kind of forums should I go to? Which are recommended?
I don't know. Like conceptart.org is what I'd always fall back on, because that's where I posted a lot a while back, and then that seemed to have good results. There are lots of changing opinions on what forums are good, but as long as you go to one, it'll usually lead to another. Someone will mention CG Talk, and it's like, what's CG Talk? So you search up that. Oh, okay, that's what that is. Crimson Daggers. Crimson Daggers is a good community. Anyway, next.
Okay, Davey Oshiro. Sycra, what's your vision on poetry?
It's pretty cool. Next.
James Wu. Sycra, you are awesome, really.
That's not a question.
Let's see. I popped in late, but will this stream be uploaded on YouTube later?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Toaster Repair Pony. I love drawing, but I find it hard to draw anything other than fan art. I'm having a lot of trouble making something new. Any tips?
I don't know, maybe vary it, like mix your fan arts, I guess. I see some people doing that, where they pick like one character, another character, and sort of mix the designs, or maybe just look at other things, You'll find so much inspiration looking at cultures, different cultures in the world. So that's a great thing to do. It will fill your head with ideas.
Okay. Navy Blue Manga. What do you think about social life as an artist? I have gotten far in art, but I feel like I am missing out.
Yeah, you lose it. I don't know. You definitely lose a lot of social life. That's not my maniacal giggle. That's Jeff's. See, my laugh sounds like this. Okay. No, it doesn't. It sounds like this. I don't
know. Anyways. XX Foxbeard XXX, yeah, yeah. Have you covered painting? If not, I'm having a hard time painting even with reference. The colors are always kind of off. Do you have any tips for learning to see color right?
It's probably values. Try drawing, try painting black and white stuff and see if you can get it accurate. Because color seems like it's always the big thing, but it's usually value. And once you get good at value, color is not such a big difficulty.
Okay, just 1 second. Chunha chat. Do you have advice for artists who can paint realistically from observational but have difficulty with creativity?
Yeah, draw more from imagination, and it's gonna suck. One of the things that, okay, so I know someone who's into piano, and in the piano world, there's lots of performers, and they perform really, they do Beethoven, Rachmaninoff, Chopin, whatever, and it's great, but they never compose because they get intimidated by that. Now, this is a problem because if they do compose, even though it's not as good as these people they perform, they're going to get better and better. And it's the same thing with art. If you do it and it sucks, do it more and it will suck a bit less. And then do it more and more and more and more and more. And then eventually you get good enough that it's like, oh, it's half as good as if I used observation. And then you're on the right track. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. It takes years. It's not days. So, you're in for the long haul.
Okay. Markle then Arkle. Wacom Intuos 5 or 4 or 3, and what's the most cost-effective program for both still and animated projects? What's also compatible with the tablet?
I don't know. I'm not a Wacom spokesman, but Intuos 3, I used it for a long time. It was great. I loved it. Intuos 4, it had a bit of a rough surface, so I didn't like it as much because it would wear out my nibs. However, I've been told by using it a lot, eventually the surface becomes like glass, and it just becomes like the Intuos 3, so anything. It's all good.
Okay. Jason Coates, is there such a thing as working too hard?
I don't know. I don't work hard enough, so I don't know.
All right. Yanko Bruno, do you have any advice for coming up with original poses without relying too much on reference?
Think about the situation, instead of drawing first, close your eyes and imagine what the person is doing, or conversely, act it out yourself. So if you think, I want to draw someone sitting down holding like a coffee cup mug, drinking from that, and you can't imagine it, then sit down yourself and maybe look in a mirror if you can, or have someone take a photo reference of you, or just feel how it feels in your body to be like, oh, in this pose, and yeah, I think I would do this, and maybe I didn't even notice my shoulder naturally like balances on whatever, and that's another way of doing it.
Yep. Okay, Zola Tofu. Question, I have a bamboo tablet that came with an Autodesk Sketchbook Express, and I've been meaning to work more with digital large environment concept art. How do I know which program to get?
I have Sketchbook Express as well. It's good for drawing sketches. Sorry, you said they wanted to do concepts?
Yeah,
you need Photoshop.
Yeah.
You need to do Photoshop because that is what the industry uses, so it doesn't even matter. Really, I mean, people do use Painter, but they also know Photoshop. So, no matter what, you're gonna have to know Photoshop.
Okay. Shadow Lilium, is there any good animation groups on the net?
I don't know.
Okay. Aquino Hat, Sycra, can you do a tutorial how to draw in Photoshop without Wacom tablet?
Wait, without?
Yeah.
you use lasso and use the polygonal lasso, or use pen and use paths, but I'm not gonna do it because I don't do that. It is very different than what I do. Sorry, I would love to help, but yeah.
All right. And it seems like this may very well be the last question so far. Zalzi, if you could go back in time and change your career path, would you? Be honest.
I didn't have the choice because see the thing is, what would I most like to be? I could have. There are a few things I wanted to be. My biggest dream, I suppose, and I'm still hoping, by the time I'm 80, maybe I'll do it, is to be a composer, music composer. And so I didn't have, the chance to do that. But pencils and paper are cheap and they're usually handy, so that was available to me. So I don't think so. I mean, the other thing would be maybe be a martial arts teacher, but that has sort of like, I don't know. I think art's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I'll do art.
Okay, then. That seems to be all the questions.
Well, thanks for getting the questions, and thank you all for watching the stream. And yeah, hope this helped. Thanks for watching.
Have a good night.